So this is actually, this area that we're in is our office. We call it the research room. It's home to myself, our staff researcher, and then our historic preservation manager, who are not here today. But that's actually okay because this space is really small. And this space that we're in, I'll try and like zoom in a little bit here. It actually was where they would have taken the mugshots of prisoners as they came in. So you can see this is the room we're in. You're facing this clock. So we added in this sort of faux wall here when we made these our offices. But otherwise this room is kind of unchanged. It's still got all the pipes and stuff at the top. So I will leave this here. Feel free to take a look, have it back off the filing cabinet if you want. And then we're going to step in here. So where our collection is stored actually was our dark room for processing photographs. So we're going to come back here. Come on in. We're going to stay real cozy. Oh, shit. Sorry for the people online. The transition in lighting is
no, it's all good.
Bizarre. Come on in. Oh boy. What's happening? So I'm sure the first thing everyone noticed was the ships. Usually that's the first thing that everybody asks about. So we know that people were making ships in the building as early as the 1850s. It really became a big business sometime around the 1920s. There was a prisoner who escaped. I don't know if Tom told you about the 1923 escape.
No, actually.
Okay, well, there was an escape in 1923. A bunch of people got out, and one of the people made it all the way to Honolulu, Hawaii, before he was recaptured. So the story goes that when he was on his way back, he learned how to make these model ships, and he created this big woodworking business that became very profitable. And they continued making ships here until the building closed. They sold the ships to people who lived in the neighborhood. So there were quite a few of them around, and there was also a bar around that acted as a retailer for them. So that's why we have so many. And if you look behind some of the ships, there's actually another ship, so they're double stacked. So we've got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you wouldn't mind moving back. I'm actually going to open these up.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So we also have other prisoner-made art. These are all made out of soap, and I don't know if the people standing close can still smell them through the masks and everything. But if the drawer doesn't get open for a while, that smell just like sort of accumulates.
Oh, wow.
And then it gives you a nice scent. Yeah. It smells like my grandma, so I don't mind. It's actually quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you see? These are so intricate. That was awesome.
Yeah, these were, I believe these were made in the 50s and 60s, and they've held up remarkably well. Like, I can't believe the paint is still mostly intact.
Yeah.
Especially since the people who donated them said that they kept them in their attic. And they came to me just like wrapped in newspaper. I don't know how some of this stuff lives. Oh, sorry. These again. These are just little notes. So we have a volunteer named Debbie who makes all of our glorious boxes and things for us.
Such nice housing.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't she wonderful? I sing her praises every chance I get. Oh,
Doggies.
I'm going to leave this that much open because the drawers will actually fall all the way out.
Yeah.
So these are obviously more carvings. These are all made out of wood. One question that we get a lot is how we know these things were made here, and the answer is we don't really. The people who have donated them are people who have had obvious connections to the building, so they're like children of officers who worked here or former prisoners who received these from other prisoners or that sort of thing. So they'll tell us that they either bought it themselves from like the curio shop that was here or they were gifted it. One of the exceptions is this little guy here, which I just love because it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And on the back it says February 21st, 1908, made by one of the convicts in the Eastern Penitentiary. So you probably can't see it on the camera because it's very light and in pencil. But that's one of the few things that we have that's actually somewhat labeled. And they almost never sign anything with their prisoner number. There are a couple paintings that are signed. I won't pull them out because it's difficult to like maneuver them in this room. But that's pretty much all that we have that's signed.
Wow.
And then of course, we have our shibs, or shanks, whatever you want to call them. Most of these were collected by an officer who was in charge of checking for contraband. So as far as I know, none of them were ever used.
Ooh, we got a bone shank.
Yeah,
Nice.
go ahead.
Yeah. They were pretty clever with the materials they used.
Yeah.
The spoon.
The spoon, there's a, I guess this is a fountain pen.
Yeah.
Sorry if my hand got in your shot there.
Oh, butter knives.
A lot of butter knives. This is a bucket handle.
A bucket handle. Yep, there you go.
Wow. I like the bone knife.
I like the spoon.
Yeah, the spoon, it makes you wonder.
It's unique. That's why that's why
I
I
guess
like
they sharpen the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the handle's
Yeah,
like
the
got a little
handle is-
pointed tip.
Yeah.
And we have quite a few of them.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, we're getting bigger here.
yeah.
Sounds really sharp.
Ooh, the old,
Very sharp. Oh my
the
goodness.
old steel nail. Love it.
This one actually has like a real hilt to it.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Someone took pride in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And then, yeah, more shoes.
Wow.
and
Big ones. Oh, little shoes.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm getting all of
So
this.
this obviously is where Debbie hasn't gotten to yet. The shoes were made here. They're actually little pin cushions. These like high-heeled shoes are.
oh, that's fantastic.
Cool.
There's like a little cowboy boot, which I think is actually supposed to be for a doll. Actually,
Yeah, it looks
there's a
functional.
pair. Yeah, it's hard to see, but there's a pair of them back there. And that one came with like a little tag that said it was made here for so-and-so in 1911,
1910.
1910, something like that. Thank you. So those are some of our cool objects. And then, I'm sorry, on this side, we have a few more. Again, this is where Debbie hasn't yet gotten, but we've got some prisoner-made jewelry over
Oh,
here.
wow.
We've got a badge that would have gone in an officer's hat, which wants to go home with me now.
Yeah, those cotton gloves.
This is a badge for the Catholic chaplain, locks and keys, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I love those keys.
So those keys are like one of my favorite things. I think that they were actually made when the original front gate came off of the building. So it says front gate ESP 1823 to 1936. And I find this whole like commemoration of the gate coming down really fascinating. They made bookends that look like the original front gate.
Okay, so it was a big deal that they took down these.
Yeah, and you can see it's got like this, it's even got the little door for the guy to go through. And that's what it would have looked like. And this is what it looked like before they added what we go through today. So you can still see this part like peeking over the top. And then this is what it looks like today. And we have the original front door. So the door that you can't see this gentleman walking through is over here. And I find it really fascinating that they kept this stuff. And it just sort of boggles my mind, and that door is hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they trucked it out to the countryside, where it stayed in one of the board members' barns for
Oh my god.
70 years, give and take.
You're gonna-
And then they returned it to us. I just think it's absolutely wild that they kept that stuff in. We are still getting stuff all the time. I just got this escape poster last week. And this is one of the gentlemen from the 1923 escape that I was telling you about. He's not the one who made it to Honolulu. But he did make it out of the building. So that's that. That's our newest item. And then obviously we have a bunch of other photographs. This just happens to be another one of an escape attempt. These folks didn't make it out of the building. But I also find it really fascinating how the guards took like sort of goofy pictures
Yeah.
of themselves in the tunnel. It's really interesting what the culture here must have been like. And then we have things that were written by prisoners. This is a poem.
Oh wow.
And it was like made into this little booklet. I don't know how well they can see that. The film is very reflective. And this is another thing that came in pretty recently. And it's very cool because it shows the back of the prison. So I don't know if any of you were behind there and saw the like playground. That used to be an external storehouse, which was demolished, a long time ago. I think it was demolished before we even became a museum. So this is one of the few photos we actually have of that space, which is pretty amazing. And then this donor also had some pictures of the inside. So they're like receiving some apples. Let's see if I can. There we go.
That's a lot of apples.
1939. Cool.
Yeah. So that's one of the newer and cooler things that we've received. We also have, a bunch of like intake documents, which are all housed in the things behind you there, as well as a bunch of mugshots. As far as I know, we have the largest collection of mugshots from this penitentiary. This is a reproduction that we had made when we had our mugshot book conserved. And it's still very big and awkward. And I'm afraid to handle the original because it's just like, the more I handle it, like pieces come off. It's definitely in a stable condition now that it's been conserved, but I still would rather handle this than the very delicate original. Especially, I would never hold the original up like this.
No.
Yeah.
Are they all getting their head kept straight by
I
that?
was gonna say.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we took these to the conservation center, they told us that this style of photography did not require you to be super still. So like the old, I'm not a photography person, I don't really know all the terms. So like the very old photos, you had to be perfectly still or it would get blurry. They said with this technology that they were using at this time, you didn't really need it. So we have two theories. One is that they used that sort of like head brace to hold everybody in the same position so that it would be more uniform across everybody. Or whoever was taking the photos learned to take photos this way and they just kept doing it this way, even though they didn't need to. So those are our two theories about that. And I'm sure Tom told you that there were women here as well. So we've got
One
this
over
lady.
there.
Where's picture is
What's
missing?
Yeah, I think some of these actually had a note sticking in them that they were sent to someplace else, like some other prison or court requested it.
Interesting.
This one doesn't have it, but one of them has it written in the margins.
Cool.
Which is very cool.
Is
Yeah.
it
Hopefully
reproduced
permanently.
at all? Is that to buy? Is there any makeup publishing of that at all?
Oh,
Like of that booklet?
we have not done that. I don't know if they would consider that. It's something to think about for the future.
I would buy.
Some libraries would buy it. Drexel might.
Oh, Mugshot? I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And then one of our other very cool things that we had conserved is a death ledger.
Wow.
And this goes up to the 1930s. And again, it's pretty, the original's pretty delicate. I don't like touching it. So yeah, it's just really interesting. A lot of people, consumption tuberculosis was the most common cause of death here.
Were the death records only going up to the 30s, or is that just how much is now?
Just this book goes up to the 30s. The rest of the records, we have to look at the warden's journals to figure out who is passing away here. And we have a database of just so much information, and we're still adding to it. So I've been working here since 2004, and we're not even close to being done. So we have a lot to learn about this place, and I keep saying when I'm done learning about this place, I'm gonna quit. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
That's so like. Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment. That's so fascinating. Like, he was telling us about finding the denture factory and how they were like still finding all that stuff. Like, I don't know. That's just so fascinating. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you stated this. I was in wonder. How did you get those digitized? Did you have a grant, or was it like?
Oh, yeah, we got a grant
Was
to
it
get these.
outside, outsourced?
Awesome.
Yeah, we had it done at the Conservation Center for Art and Historic Artifacts.
Nice.
And if you guys can take a tour there, it's
sounds amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
It is
Future
so
DULASA event.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, and they do allow groups in there sometimes. So
Nice.
it's definitely worth
Yeah.
checking out. If nothing else, they have a open house usually every fall
Cool.
that you can go to, and it's just the coolest place.
Yeah. Definitely want to do an event there.
I highly, highly recommend it. Yes.
I have like a very specific weird question. What is the process when you get materials that you can't actually trace back to being from here accurately? Like, is there some sort of policy or process for things like that?
Usually we try not to accept things which are really murky like that. Like I said, we don't have documented proof that most of these things were from Eastern State. We just kind of have to take the donor's word for it. But like recently, someone wanted to donate a toilet to us, which was really interesting because they had different styles of toilets here over time. It's actually quite a topic of discussion among the staff, like what kind of toilets were in the building and when. So the person calls and said that he had a toilet for us. And as I'm talking to him, it becomes apparent that it was the same brand of toilets as the ones that are out on the site right now. But it was a different style. And then it kind of was revealed that he didn't get it from here. Like it was his brother-in-law's from some factory, and it was broken, and we're just kind of like, thank you, but this doesn't fit our policy. So luckily in those cases we can just not accept things that seem kind of not relevant to the building. So yeah, that's the best strategy, is to try and stop it before they get here.
Use that policy.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a collections policy is great because like, you can just be like, it's in the policy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is there a story behind the Catman hat?
I was gonna ask that too.
The Catman worked for the city when the building was abandoned, and he would come in and feed the colony of feral cats that lived. So we actually have a plaque where you get the audio guides. I don't know if you guys actually went through that space, but there's a little plaque to Dan the Catman. And
Dan the Catman.
there was an art installation about the cats a few years ago. It was very popular and very cute.
Aww. That's awesome.
Are there ever like privacy issues for prisoners that were here, but might still be alive?
Yeah, we don't really have a written policy, but we have like a sign on the site that says that we don't name people who were here after 1950.
So, like,
Except in like very unusual circumstances, like if they're super famous, or if we know that they've passed away, then we might reveal their names. But otherwise, we try and not make that public.
Right. But it's like kept in the archive until.
Yeah, we don't really have that much from the 50s and 60s. Most of that is at the Pennsylvania State Archives. So if people want to find it there, that's up to the Pennsylvania State Archives. But we try not to reveal those names because those people and their families are probably still alive.
In terms of acquiring items on site, like they mentioned the dental factory, and I see here items found in roofs. So is this you guys going out and doing surveys on your own? Do you hire survey crews or work with like specific organizations, or how do you go about assessing your physical collection? I guess.
An intern and I did a cell survey about 10 years ago, and we did just a quick survey of all of the footstools and nightstands and beds that we had, that sort of thing. And we have all of that information in a database. But stuff that's like found in a roof, they find it when they tear off the roofs. So they're like basically re-roofing the cell blocks, and they find stuff up there. Like, I don't know if it's still in here. Oh yeah, that tool that's like right next to the door. Yeah. Definitely don't touch it because stuff like still is coming off of it. Yeah. But that was found in the roof of cell block 2. And there's like a clay pipe back there. That was also found in a roof, and we found like lighters, tools, and all kinds of stuff like under the roof when they ripped it off.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like every time you guys have to clean or you have to conserve or work on the building is when you get an opportunity for.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
We're always finding stuff.
Do you have a personal favorite item in here?
I really love the item in the back there that is this mini cutlery set.
Oh, I took a picture.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's so cute.
That was made from bones in the prisoner's soup.
Oh,
We
wow.
would take the bones and then he would carve them. And I actually found a newspaper article about it, about this guy who did this. And apparently he was rather prolific with this, that, you know, in the newspaper it's like, we all know old Tom Riley, and he made all of these things for our kids' dolls. It's really wild. Yeah.
What would you say is the most like outlandish, weird, like? It's a hard question.
There is so much weird stuff in this building.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say. We have an on-site storage area of just like all the things that were found in the building that can't come into this room because they're moldy or too dusty or whatever. And for some reason back there somebody decided to save a coconut.
Oh.
So there's like a coconut shell back there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So we have plans at some point in the distant future to build a larger collection storage that will account for all of the stuff that's on site. We'll eventually do a survey and decide what types of footstools we want to preserve and what types of nightstands, because there are different paints and styles and all kinds of variations of them. So they would all go in that storage unit. All this stuff in here would go in that storage area, and we would also have a research center is the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the plans, we just need the money. If any of you comes into a couple million, let me know.
Yeah.
It's an off-the-wall question. Do you have any name mentioning of Julia Hall here?
Julia Wilt, is she also known by Julia Wilt?
I I'm not sure. I know she was a big advocate in the prison society for like Pennsylvania Prison Society. She was part of. She was a Drexel faculty member.
Oh, cool.
No.
So I
the name is
just thought I'd throw it out there because I feel like it'd probably be more of the other archive, but
yeah. It's
so
not.
she was a
ringing
big
bell.
she was a big advocate for prison reform and other
Oh, cool.
things in there. But there's a personal papers collection in our archives at Drexel.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
okay. I'll have to look into
Nice.
that. Yeah, the Drexels were on the board of directors at various times. So they were definitely involved. The Biddles were also like super involved.
I want to say she was more
That's
active
cool.
in like the late 70s. So it was like,
1970s?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, then
So
that
it was
would
way
be
later.
after us.
Yeah.
The Julia Wilt I'm thinking of is a very different person.
I thought it was a long stretch, but I thought I'd ask.
How do you decide what gets, like what actually gets preserved in here or in the other room you were talking about, and what actually stays in the cells?
Mhm.
Like all the random footstools and
Yeah.
nightstands and
Pretty much
overturned beds and all of that.
all the random stuff stays in the cells unless we need to move it out for some reason. Like the art installation is going in there or the roof is collapsing and we need to save it. So we would take it out of that space. We've also taken out all the paper. We found a really nice treasure trove of maintenance documents from the 60s. So that's great because we know almost nothing about the 1960s in the building, and the State Archives for some reason doesn't really have anything about the 1960s. So that was a wonderful find. And those live in an off-site storage because they're generally icky. That's a professional term, icky.
Now, do you have like a database for your collection catalog, or do you know like roughly how many items you have, or?
We do have a database. It's not publicly available at this point.
Yeah.
I'm hoping soon.
Yeah.
We just got a new version of our software, so that's exciting. We work on FileMaker Pro.
Okay.
And we're working on a very old version, and now we got the latest and greatest, so I'm excited about that. As always, I say it depends on how you count things. So if you're counting all the photographs with all the objects, with all the stuff on site, it's like the tens of thousands. If you're just talking about objects in this room, I think it's about 800. And then photographs, maybe a couple thousand if you're not including all the mugshots.
Gotcha.
Because then also, like, some of them are bound in the book. Do you count them individually?
Or
do you count them as a page?
Yeah, gotcha.
Do you ever have issues with like temperature regulation or anything? Because it's such an old building. Does that like impact this room or the archive?
Yeah. This room actually is pretty stable as far as temperature. The humidity, we don't have any humidity controls in here, so that does tend to be a little up and down, but it's not the worst thing ever. We did have our AC die a couple years ago over the summer, and it was like 90 degrees in here every day.
Oh, God.
But the good part was that it basically was baking. So even though it was super, super hot, it was dry.
It was dry.
So we didn't have problems with molding,
That's good.
which was great. And then once we got our AC back online, we were able to like gradually lower the temperature again.
That's good. What initially brought you to want to do archival work and I guess go to library school?
Sure. Did Tom tell you guys I'm a Drexel alum?
No! So awesome! Yay!
There you go.
Yeah, so I went to Drexel for my undergraduate. I started out fashion design because I was interested in historical costuming and very quickly realized that world was not for me. And I transferred into the then history politics program. And I did my internship here at my co-op.
Nice.
And then graduated and they offered me a job and I stayed here. And then at one point our vice president said, you should probably get your graduate degree. And I agreed, and then I went back to Drexel and got my library science degree.
That's
Oh
awesome.
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do they still have a co-op program here? Do you know?
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, like everywhere else, we had to reduce our staff a bit.
Yeah.
And we also, our staff has grown significantly. So when I started, I was the 4th admin staff member. And now we've got something like 20.
Nice.
So we also did not anticipate growing that fast, and our physical space in these offices is kind of maxed out.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions? Anything you want to see that you didn't get to see? Is that a wooden hat? Above the fish? Is that a hat? Oh no, it's a bowl.
It is a bowl. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be hard to see from that angle. I thought you were talking about the wishing well, which kind of also looks like a hat.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, our storage has also sort of maxed out more quickly than we had anticipated. We moved into these spaces in 2008. Yeah, 2008. And there's like a picture of me being like, oh, look at all this space. And now it's like completely full.
The Santa Claus mug, was that another prisoner craft? Or?
It was, yeah, they had
That
a
is so
ceramic
cool.
shop here.
Oh, neat.
So you have ceramics,
Hope
you
you all
have
can see that.
woodworking, denture making.
Denture making.
Yeah.
They also allowed prisoners here to work in medical care. So they were nurses a lot of times,
Oh.
which is not really done anymore.
No.
We were talking with some of the guys incarcerated at SCI Chester, and we were showing them pictures, and they were like, "What is happening here?" That does not happen anymore.
Yeah.
So the opportunities here were relatively bountiful compared to what might be available today.
Yeah.
This is a super off the wall question, but I gotta ask because a couple of us have been to like the Halloween events here. Does anybody talk about like the penitentiary being haunted or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of people do. I have never seen anything. I think that I give off a vibe like, do not haunt me.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
So I've never seen anything, but some of my coworkers say that they have.
Yeah. Oh wow.
My opinion is you have to be open to it for it to happen, and I am not open.
That's a good thing, especially because of all the objects and anything.
Yeah. But I don't like being the last one out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't like being the last person out of here at night.
Not fun walking past here at midnight?
Nope. Try very hard to be out of here before the one other person.
Yeah. Cool.
Anything else I can answer for you? Show you?
This has been like an excellent opportunity. Thank you so much for being willing to do this and for my little recording here. Hopefully people were able to see things, especially when I'm like breathing, holding this against me. This is the first in-person event DULASA has done since I got involved a few years ago. I don't know about anybody else who's been here longer. How long ago was that?
It's like 2014. 15.
Yeah, so it's been a long time since we've done an in-person event. So thank you guys all for coming. Seriously, like this has been really awesome, and I hope we can do more stuff like this in the future. Honestly, I would come back and do this all again to make this an annual thing. This is really cool. So, yeah, ready.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording. Thanks, guys.